Okay, I'm really excited about this recipe. When I was thinking about recipes that I'd like to make to show you, I thought this is a really great one. It's one I've made previously with students in another school, but it's really a really good recipe because it's easily adaptable and it's a healthy recipe. What we're going to make is we're going to make sunshine bars or breakfast bars, and this is a BBC Good Food recipe, but I'm going to do it slightly differently to how it is on the website. So these are the ingredients that you need. So to start off with, you need a big bowl with which is heat proof. Okay, so not a plastic bowl, so it can be a glass or it can be ceramic or it can be metal. And in here you need 50 grams of puffed rice cereal. By that I mean Rice Krispies. You will see in here that I have Cocoa Pops. Cocoa Pops is great because these are a bit of a treat. Cocoa Pops gives it a chocolatey flavour. You can use Sugar Puffs, you can use other cereal like cornflakes, but you can't really use things like Cheerios and things like that because they have a larger surface area. And what you're going to be making is a caramel that combines all these ingredients together to make a really delicious chewy bar. The more ingredients you have with the biggest surface area means that you're going to have less caramel per surface area, which means it's going to be quite dry. So you have here 50 grams of Rice Krispies. I've got Cocoa Pops. I have 100 grams of porridge oats, not ready break, not the instant porridge. These are porridge oats. Now year 7s and year 8s who've done food this year might have these already at home because we've made overnight oats. What's great about porridge oats, really versatile recipe. These are a bit, so it becomes a bit like a flapjack, but porridge oats are really cheap and they're really good for you, high in fibre. Okay, I have 50 grams of mixed seeds. I've bought a packet actually of just mixed seeds. I think it's got some linseeds in there, some pumpkin seeds and some sesame seeds and some sunflower seeds. Really good for you. Got lots of oil in there, which is good for you. Essential oils, high in fibre, high in protein. Healthy food, superfood. 50 grams of mixed nuts. In here I think are peanuts, hazelnuts and walnuts, but you can just use them if you want to. If you have a nut allergy, you can replace these with something else. I would maybe increase my Rice Krispies, or increase the seeds, or increase the fruit that you're going to put in here. Okay, I have here 100 grams of apricots that I'm going to chop up with scissors, and I have 85 grams of cranberries. I like fruity ones. The recipe on the BBC Good Food says to add desiccated coconut. I don't like desiccated coconut. I like the flavour of it, but I don't like the feel of it. It tastes like it's like sawdust. So I have swapped the coconut for cranberries. If you wanted to, you could add chocolate chips. You've got to be careful though because they melt a little bit. But any dried fruit, not fresh fruit, it has to be dried fruit. So you can have sultanas, raisins, dried cherries. Don't use glacé cherries. Dried cherries are really nice. Anything like that, dried mango, pineapple, tropical fruits, anything like that, really, really nice. And that's what's so good about this recipe, that it's really easily adaptable. And then I have a large saucepan with 100 grams of butter chopped up, 100 grams of brown sugar. This is light brown sugar. You can use dark brown sugar. It just has that caramelly taste. And then 125 grams of syrup. And this is what's going to make our caramel. I've used a big saucepan because when caramel is boiling, it is hotter than boiling water. So we want to avoid any sort of splashing or any of the liquid coming up, and it can potentially burn you. I've got one with 2 hands, which makes it easier to hold for when I'm tipping it out. I would suggest that if you're doing this, you do this with an adult, okay, because that bit is quite can be quite dangerous if you're not careful. And then I have a, oops, sorry about that. I have a tin here. This is a 20 centimetre tin, or just a little bit under, and I have lined it with a double thickness of greaseproof paper or baking parchment. I have greased the sides as well. You can change the size of this. If you don't have one of these, you could use one of these and grease it and line it. You could use a longer, flatter one like this, but your breakfast bars will be thinner. Okay, so you will need to change the way you cut them. I'm going to use this like this, and we're going to be using our hob to make our caramel. The other piece of equipment you'll need is wooden spoons for stirring your caramel and your ingredients all together, and you would need some cling film at the very end to compress your mixture when you come to make your bars. So next step, making caramel. So I've mixed all of my dry ingredients together. You can see they're really well combined, so there's no lumps of anything in there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to melt my sugar and my butter and my syrup to make a caramel. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of vanilla essence if you want to. But you can see that I use the squeezy syrup, so it melts a little bit quicker. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a caramel with these ingredients. They will all melt together, and then we are just going to boil that, simmer that so it bubbles for about 2 minutes. We want it to be thick because we want it to set. The longer that we actually boil this for, the harder it will get. So it's a bit like making caramel as opposed to fudge, as opposed to toffee. So the longer that you boil it for at high temperature, the more chewy it will be. And we just want a caramel that's going to be soft and chewy, and combine our ingredients. You can see the butter's melting, it's starting to bubble around the edges. I'm going to move my saucepan a little bit so it's more in the middle. The heat is more evenly distributed, and you can hear that my sugar is less gritty as I'm stirring it, so my sugar is dissolving. Now I'm going to be very careful now because it's starting to boil, which means it's going to be over 100 degrees when it's boiling, but we do want to make sure that we are still moving it around because we don't want it to stick to the bottom. The last thing you want to do is burn this, because you will not be in anyone's good books and it will take you a long time to clean. So I just leave that for a minute. You can see it's like bubbling in the middle. We want that to be bubbling all the way over. Smells amazing. Caramel is one of my favourite foods, so this is absolute joy. And you can see that as I'm moving it now on the edges, it's starting to pull away from the edges. It's going more into a caramel. Okay. If you added salted to this, you'd have salted caramel. Okay, you can see that's really, really bubbling, that sugar is boiling. And as we're pulling away, now I'm going to move that into my mix. So I've got my caramel, it's all bubbly like that, and I'm going to do that really, really quickly. You will probably need an adult to help you do this. If you've got a silicone heat proof mix, you can, and you're literally going to mix that round until all your ingredients are coated in the caramel. And you just keep going until all the dry ingredients are done. Really, really quickly, because as that's cooling, it's starting to go thick and gloopy, so we want it to be warm. And that's why we don't want a plastic bowl, because it could actually melt a plastic bowl if you had it. Just trying to make sure all the dry ingredients are gone. You see, I'm almost sort of stabbing it rather than mixing it. Just make sure it's all completely dry. And I'm just going to check at the bottom of the bowl to make sure all the dry ingredients are mixed together. They are. Okay, you can see it looks really great. And now I'm going to just put that into my tin. Sorry for that, I'll just move that over. Okay, don't want to waste anything because these really are amazing. These are great for breakfast on the go. Although they're high in sugar, glucose, Year 10s will tell you glucose is the energy, the only energy that feeds your brain. So these are great for breakfasts, because grab one of these in breakfast, high in fibre, the which means it swells during the day, which means it'll keep you fuller for longer, stop you grazing. Okay, and then I've just put all of that on there like that. Dried fruit, so it's got lots of fruit in there, which is good for you. And if you're having this at the beginning of the day and you're working off the energy from the sugar, that's fine. You wouldn't want to eat a whole, well, you might want to eat a whole batch. Not advisable, but these are great for breakfast. Just grab it and grab. When my kids were at school, I used to make this a lot. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to use my cling film over the top, and I'm going to push that down with my cling film over the top, because that is still quite hot. If you wanted to use an oven glove while you're doing this, you can. Pushing it down on the corner so it isn't flat, so you don't want it to go up the sides like that. You can see that I'm pushing my fingers on the edges there, and what will happen is that will all stick really, really well with that pressure. At school, when we make these, what we do is we put all the students on top of each other, so that pressure just keeps it nice and flat. Okay, give it a rub over, make sure it's nice and flat. That needs to cool now, just on the side until it's room temperature, and then you're going to leave that in the fridge for overnight. I usually make these in the evening and they're ready in the morning. Cut them up. I'd cut them in half like that. I'll show you how I do them later on, well, when they're all cold. And I would imagine that will last a day and a half in this house. There's some hungry adults in here. Catch you later. Okay, so this is our sunshine bars. It's really hard now. It's been in the fridge for a couple of hours. So I can take the cling film off, and then I'm going to use this to pull it out. Okay. So you can see here, it's a nice bar. Now on the website it says makes 18. But I will probably make about, well, I might make 18, probably not, maybe 15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up. So I'm going to cut this into 3. How you do it is entirely up to you. You might need a little bit of help just with a knife. A longer knife obviously is better, just to push it down. Okay, and then turn it around this way. I'm going to do about this big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5. Okay, yeah, it's about 15. Okay, so I'm going to cut that down like that. And again, pushing down. If you want to make some slightly smaller, you can. Make some slightly bigger if you want, but bear in mind the nutrition there. You can see it's really lovely. The colours of the cranberries and the apricots are really nice. So that's it. That's sunshine bars. Let's see if I can get that there. You can see all there, lovely colours in there. Got the green of the pumpkin seeds, you've got bright orange of the apricot, and you've got the cranberries. And that is a great snack, mid-morning snack. Means you won't eat your lunch at break time, or you can grab that in the morning on the way to school. Sunshine bars.